try to get rid of this one. So, welcome everyone. We are about 54. We are expecting about 30, 40 more. We think that it's always good to start with a little reminder of what is VRA and what are what is the way we do these webinars. So my name is Maxime Flament. I'm a VRA coordinator at ERTICO-ITS Europe, and today we will have a webinar on from advanced active safety systems to automated systems, basically looking at what interactIVe has been doing, and then what adaptive is now doing. So just a few words on logistics. You see your screen. You have the interface that is on your right normally, with the control panel that you can show. You can, if you have any problems with your audio, you can look at the audio setup. There is a question pane where you can ask questions during the presentation, and we will moderate the questions at the end of the presentation. Also, if you want, you can put the presentation on full screen using the view button, and also auto hide the control panel. The moderation will be done the following way. All participants stay muted during the presentation, and the participant can pose questions via this control panel that I just showed. So ideally, if you want to pinpoint to a slide number, please write your slide number in your question. And if there are hot topics or precision questions, then we will do that after each section. What are these sections? They are basically separated via this webinar polls. A poll is basically an interactive question from the presenter to the audience. And when a poll is started, you will see a screen appearing to you, and you have to make a choice out of the different choices that are given to you. And right after the poll, we will look at your questions and the statistics. So a short summary of the VRA and the project that is supporting this webinar. VRA stands for Vehicle and Road Automation. It is a support action fully funded by the European Commission, and its main aim is to create a collaborative network of experts and stakeholders working on the deployment of automated vehicles and its ITS and its related infrastructure. We act on different pillars, two pillars. One on the European level is to support the iMobility Forum Automation Working Group and its activities. And on the other pillar is more the international pillar, where we contribute to the EU, US, Japan trilateral working group on road vehicle automation. The VRA is supporting the discussions into what we call discussion groups on many different topics. Here you see some of them: deployment paths, regulatory issues, testing, connectivity, etc. And all these topics feed the discussions and the positions that are taken at the European and international level. We have also the VRA Wiki, where we contribute to identifying which are the projects that are working on the topics. So the website is vra-net.eu. We have a Twitter account also, info@VRA, and the wiki that I just talked about in the webinars. Who is behind VRA is a very large amount of different beneficiaries and associated partners. If you want to participate more actively and in a more targeted way to the activities, you can ask us the letter of intent and sign this letter of intent to get more inside access. So here is a list of supported events in 2015, actually, here in that slide. Next online we have a supported event, ERTICO annual conference in the 3rd of March. Also a workshop organized in Brussels on regulatory needs for vehicle and road automation. End of March we have a workshop on socio-economic impact in La Rochelle, and followed by the Trilateral Automation Working Group in La Rochelle as well. 14th, 15th of April, a symposium between Europe and US on invitation only on automation. And then I'll skip the next one, but would like to really mention the ICCS World Congress, where we will all meet in October, beginning of October. So with this, I would like to thank all the Angelos Amditis, who accepted to give this presentation of the results of interactIVe, and as well as the follow-up of these activities in adaptive. And I guess normally you should be able to see now the screen of Angelos, and Angelos, you basically have the floor. Thanks, Angelos.
Thank you very much, Maxime. Hello, everybody. Also from my side, I'm Angelos Amditis. I'm a research director of the Institute of Communication and Computer Systems, and I was very happy to accept this invitation that Maxime mentioned, and I hope that for the next 1 hour, less than 1 hour, I'm going to be able to give you some interesting things for thought, and also to have some interaction together on this subject of automation, which is really getting a lot of attention and becomes more and more interesting for people. It's amazing the boost of automation in the last few years, which is not only because of technological developments that allowed automation, but also as a kind of more political, strategic and image issue for all main stakeholders. So having said that, what I would like to present today, what to discuss with you, is a little bit around automation, some basic elements. Yes?
Angelos, we see, can you put yourself in presentation mode so that everyone
yeah,
sees?
I thought I did that. Ah, okay, perfect. Now it's better. Sorry for that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is really to discuss about a little bit about automation, some basic things, so we are on the same level of discussion and understanding. And then I will mainly work on one of the basic ways that automation is being seen, at least from the industry side, and this is more building on existing developments on ADAS and on connectivity, and from there, step by step, to introduce automation. I will give you a small summary about what interactIVe did, a flagship in Europe dealing with active safety systems, which was also a bridge towards the more automated related projects. I will then discuss with you a little bit adaptive, which is the main research project now in Europe, following the approach I mentioned, and discussing about automated driving. And I will close my presentation with some ideas for the future that could give you some reasons to think and to brainstorm and to discuss about how automation will be in the future. So, why are we discussing about automation? I think you've seen this type of slides in all presentations related to automation. So a number of different areas where automation is supposed to support. And this is, first of all, on traffic safety issues related with the support of the driver in monotonous and also demanding tasks. Then it's issues related with the traffic situation, with congestion, how you can really solve traffic jams and by increasing the outflow. And this could hopefully lead in reduction of congestion, so environmental effects, also improving energy efficiency, and then also issues related with improved travel experience, but also making the whole transportation thing an easier situation for everybody, taking into account especially the demographic changes that we are having all over the world, especially also in Europe. Of course, there's a lot of discussion behind that slide. A lot of people are not so persuaded that automation can really bring something more in terms of safety if you compare that with a really big change that ADAS brought into this field and also connectivity. So a lot of people believe that you can, after ADAS introduction, after connectivity, one can observe only marginal effects of automation in terms of safety. Other people believe that this could be the final solution for traffic safety, for zero accidents and zero deaths. And other people also believe that automation may introduce also a new type of accidents. So a lot of different opinions on that. And with this small introduction, maybe we can move to the first poll of our today's discussion, which is really to discuss your opinion about where automation can really contribute more. So we have here 4 choices for you. Is it going to be more on the traffic accidents level? Is it going to be more on the efficiency of the transport system, on the environmental effects, or more related, let's say, with the creation of a more friendly and efficient transportation system, especially making life easier for elderly and disabled people? So maybe we can go for this poll first.
So yes, we give a difficult. That's a difficult one because of course you would like to pick all of these.
Yes.
But the strategy here that you give us is that we have to pick only one. I understand.
Yeah.
So please pick only one and. So we have about 50% of the people that voted, so that's always a bit tricky the first time. So we are waiting for at least 80% voting. Okay, a couple of seconds more for the voting. Okay, yes, so we have 80%, so we can share the results with you. And share, yes. And we have actually 38% of the people that said that we will be more reduce the traffic accidents, 45% increasing efficiency of the traffic, and then 2% saying environmental gains, and then 15% more friendly transport for elderly and disabled. You got that? I don't think that you can see it.
No, unfortunately no, but still very interesting results. And yeah, I'm very happy to see this type of results because it shows exactly what I'm trying to put here, that there is a lot of confusion really behind this aspect and the benefits of automation. This is something we're going to discuss also later on. But I'm glad that you all believe that automation at the end of the day will create a more efficient and more safe transport system, and I think this is the important result behind this. But still, I think we can have some more interesting discussion later on based on the results of this poll.
It was indeed very interesting.
Yeah.
Continue.
Thank you. So, and having said about the confusion in automation, and also as a result, I would say, of this sudden boost the last years that we see in everything which is related with automation, is even a confusion on terms. And one could see in the different papers, discussion, reports, introductions, presentations, whatever, you will see multiple different terms for describing the same concepts or the same systems, and this really creates a lot of confusion and a lot of difficulties in discussing this, especially if you speak to international audience. So here you can see just a small, let's say, set of different terms that we have seen the last years used for everything that is related with automation. This created the need already a few years ago for a kind of structuring, a kind of putting some terms that we can all agree about automation. What is automation? What are the different levels of automation? What are the different levels of automation, and how we can really define them? And there was a lot of effort behind, also here in Europe, from BAST and also from other institutes and organizations all over the world. And here you can see the result of the work at SAE, which is, let's say now, the definitions that most of us are using today, and most of the stakeholders are accepting, without of course being a standard yet or being, let's say, the official definitions, but still most of the people or most of the stakeholders are working around these levels. And the idea behind these levels is exactly how we can really structure automation so we can understand about which level of automation we are speaking about and what are the expected outcome of this automation. So level 0, I think there's no need to discuss that. It's clear, no automation. Level 1 is the first level, and there it is interesting to see that the people that created that added in this categorization also the classical assistance systems that we know. And level 1 speaks about driver assistance, either on steering or acceleration, deceleration, and of course keeping the driver in full control of the whole situation. If one goes for covering with automated functions both steering and acceleration, then it goes to level 2. There you have automated systems that can support both activities at the same time. Still the driver is in full control, and still the driver can perform everything that is related with the driving task. Then we move on at level 3, where we have, let's say, a more deeper involvement of automation to the driving task. But here the difference with the next level is that the driver is expected that it's able at any moment to intervene and to take over control, either because he or she wants to do so or because the system requests to do so. And this is the difference with level 4, which is highly automated driving. There the system is supposed to be in a position to keep the control and to take the control, even if the driver for any reason is not in a position to do so. The final level is related with full automation, and there also the words are self-explanatory. Here we speak about a system that is fully taking the control of the vehicle, and even a system where you may not need a driver at all. And here is our second poll. And here we need really to see, let's say, the scope of highly or fully automated driving. And the question I would like to put to you is, what is, in your opinion, the best area of application if one speaks about highly or even fully automated driving? Is it only within limited driving areas, for example parking? Is it to dedicated parts of road network, or, as many people start to think more and more, open to all type of environments?
So we see directly that all the attendees now understand well that they have to now intervene. So we have directly much more interaction. 80% already voted, and so hopefully we get a little bit more. Okay, so let me summarize. So we have 55% for B, 36% for C, and 9% for A. So second one.
Thank you very much, Maxime. Also quite interesting, especially if you take into account that most of the stakeholders, or at least a lot of stakeholders, especially from industry side, they do believe that A should be the first part where we can see really highly automated or fully automated systems, like parking, for example. And probably most of you have seen that a lot of industries, a lot of OEMs have already discussing or presenting similar systems. And also very interesting for me because a lot of people believe, and I see that also from the poll, that at the end of the day we should have automation totally open environments, and there I think it's the real challenge which comes after the discussion we're going to have here. So Maxime, we can continue?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So what I mentioned before, I would focus today, because also of time limitations, to one of the approaches of how automation would be implemented or deployed in the near future. And this is more, let's say, the industry view. And this is based on a kind of evolution of active safety systems, of driver assistance systems, of ADAS, together with the developments we have on connectivity. So the idea behind that is that building on these systems, which are already mature, one can introduce slowly, step by step, automated functions and cover a number of the levels I mentioned before, and in this way being in a reliable, safe, and let's say easy, if you like, way to introduce automated functions in real traffic. In this slide, one can see the really big evolution of such active safety systems, starting from systems like ABS in the past and going up to active intervention systems, lane keeping, and support for longitudinal and lateral collision avoidance. And this, again, already one can claim that it's already integrating a type of automation inside them. To do that, of course, except of the classical industrial developments that every industry is doing, there was a lot of work done in terms of different research projects. And here I give you an image of different activities, important activities that took place in Europe the last years, starting from PREVENT, which was the flagship, the first project that was really dealing in an integrated way with all active safety systems, and then moving on to SafeSpot, working more on cooperative systems, Habit, building on exactly on the concept I mentioned before, and working for the first time on highly automated driving, and coming up to interactive, which is one of the basic projects that we will see today in this discussion. And this led or created, let's say, the framework or the conditions in order to start working seriously, at least in Europe, in automation. I mentioned before Habit. Habit was the first really project working on highly automated driving and looking on a number of the things I mentioned before. Then a number of other projects. I also put here interactive because, as you will see later, interactive has also had some elements of automation inside it, and then a number of other activities, including activities which were dealing with other aspects like City Mobile 2, which is looking more on public transport systems and on infrastructure issues, also very important, as we will see towards the end of this discussion, and moving today at Adaptive, which is the major, let's say, project in Europe that is dealing with all the things that we are discussing here about automation. The idea behind that, the concept I described before, is exactly building on, let's say, results coming from the previous project on active safety, so results on issues related with active interventions, continuous support, transitions among automation level, another very important aspect. Put that together with the work done on communication, on cooperative support of vehicles, of neighborhood vehicles, but also the communication, the connectivity with the infrastructure. And if you put these two things together, then one can claim that you can immediately come up with a number of areas where you can really introduce automated systems, and Adaptive was the result exactly of this idea and of this concept. Here in adaptive, the level of automation is set dynamically, as we're going to see later on, and the basic, one of the most important elements here is that the system created within adaptive should be resilient to different types of system and human failure. Okay. To do so, one can face a number of challenges, and of course we don't have time to go in all of them in detail, but I decided to stay only on these three, let's say, set of problems that we have to face. One is related with the real-time environmental perception, so a lot of issues there, sensors, expensive, not so reliable as they should be, and not covering all the areas that we need to do in order to create a full environmental perception model of the environment if we want to speak about automation, especially as the level of automation increases. Then automation control strategies, also very important. What we have seen in different projects, in different studies all over the world, is exactly the complexity of issues like overtaking or lane merging or crossroad entering and exiting. And there we saw that control strategies need a lot of attention and a lot of work is still to be done there. Coming to maybe one of the most important issues that people believe, which is related with the human factors. And if you step back a little bit and think of what we are asking people to do today with automation, is really a change of paradigm. We are asking people to change from a manual controller of a vehicle to become a supervisory of a system, of an advanced system, and at the same time, we ask them to be capable enough to resume manual control whenever is needed. And this is not trivial. This may happen easily in professional pilots, for example, in airplanes, but it's not the same with the mean driver we have in our roads. So there's a number of issues here, the interaction between the driver and the automation. A lot of simulator studies have taken place. That's another problem. We don't have the capability today of doing real traffic condition tests, and this is a drawback, of course, for obvious reasons. But this is really one of the major areas where we need still a lot of work to be done. Having said that, I can discuss a little bit about the barriers from the technological point of view, and then we can move to our next poll, so we can have also your opinion on this issue. So from our side, what I would put on the table as major technological barriers or problems still to be solved, let's say, is exactly the perception techniques that we are using today. One of the major issues there is reliable vulnerable road user detection, the collaboration with infrastructure, the positioning of the vehicle at a specific situation, which is also a lot of things to be done there. Then if you speak about sensors, I think I can claim that sensors are still very expensive today, and if one would like to have really a full set of sensors in order to have a full environmental perception model, this will mean really unrealistic situations in terms of costs and in terms of bringing these vehicles into the market. The same is true for the immature testing and evaluation in unconstrained real condition I mentioned before. Then I mentioned also the issue with information, warning and intervention strategies, the mode transition, major issue, and also the whole cooperation aspect between the driver, the vehicle and the infrastructure. Not to mention the integration issues, the issues related with open platforms and open architectures, and also all the issues related with data handling and data privacy. So that's my opinion, but I would be very much interested to hear your opinion on this. So we have our next poll, and this time we are allowed multiple answers from your side. Unfortunately, we have only 5 bullets from where you can choose, because otherwise I can easily make that 10. But still, that's the case, so please vote and let us know your opinion.
No, we should have only one answer. It was planned to have multiple answers, but here we can only choose one answer, and what is the highest. So then only one answer allowed per participant.
That's a pity, but okay, still.
I have a small question. You did not mention B2V, or did you?
Yeah, I did. Speaking about cooperation and integration between the different stakeholders, driver, vehicle, and infrastructure, I was mainly speaking about that part. Okay. I didn't put it here, however, on purpose, because I think that in terms of protocols, we are quite mature, and I don't see it from the technical point of view again, because we're going to discuss other issues later, as a major issue to be done here.
Okay. In the meanwhile, I think we have the results of the poll. Unfortunately, it's only one answer per person. Let me summarize. So the first one, smart and cheap sensors. 10% of the ones of the participants have said this one. So environmental perception based on sensor and information fusion, 32%. Accurate digital map framework, 7%. Decision and control strategies, 22%, and then driver behavior recognition and driver-vehicle interaction, 30%. You got that?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
That's also very interesting results, Maxime.
But multiple answers may have changed things there.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, however, it is clear, and I think I can agree with the majority that perception issues is a major one, and it's really, especially if you speak about highly automated environments and fully automated, even more, perception I include also issues related with positioning, with sensors, with fusion, with connectivity also. So this is really an important aspect and a difficult one, even today. And this is why, if I'm allowed to say, I do not agree with statements that many people do that technology is here and we only have other issues to solve. This is not true, unfortunately. This may be the case on specific scenarios, but not in all scenarios. Then the human factors also got to 30%, which is also very interesting, and I think I can also agree with that. And this can be also related with the 22% of the decision and control strategies. Let's move on, and let's take another issue related with deployment barriers. This time not technological, but more organizational and operational issues. So I think I don't need to say many things about the legal and the regulatory framework, which is a major issue, and everybody discuss about that. We all know about Vienna Convention, at least for the countries that this applies. And also we know the recent developments that took place there. The fact is that today in a number of countries, both in Europe and also in the States, a lot of activities are taking place in order to allow, on the first level at least, testing, and on the second level, massive use of vehicles, of automated vehicles, in a type of field operational test in order to check what is really happening there in real conditions, and also to be able to move on the next steps. I'm also very proud to say that one of the pioneering countries on that is Greece, which with a recent law allowed full implementation of even fully automated vehicles in open environments for testing and evaluation reasons, and I think this is something that we will take advantage of, especially on the framework of City Mobile 2. Other issues related with that is exactly the problem we have, that if someone speaks about automation, in reality it affects the whole transport system. And there you have really a lot of stakeholders, and it's not so easy to put them on the same table and discuss all the issues related to that, including financial planning. The final and even very important aspect, last but not least, is the user acceptance. We are speaking about automation, but we don't have really detailed, at least, studies of how the user accepts this situation, of how the user would like to lose the control of the vehicle and give it to an automated system. And then related to that, you have a number of issues related with education, with training, identify the benefits, the incentives, different campaigns are needed here, workshops and everything. Speaking with the industry in different occasions, I was surprised to see that even inside the industry, they don't have really detailed or accurate or quantifiable analysis of costs and benefits for all different sectors. And it's really amazing to see the huge attention that automation having now, but if you really speak with numbers, nobody can really answer questions like what are the actual benefits that the industry or the different stakeholders or the, let's say, the road operators or the authorities are expecting out of that. So this is really an issue to be handled hopefully soon. Having said that, it's time to have also your opinion on this level. So before we discussed issues related with technical problems or barriers, if you like, now we need to discuss what happens with issues related with costs, with acceptance, with human factor issues, related with all the things that I mentioned before, legal and liability, and very important, business models.
So here, there we did it on purpose to select only one out of them. So, so please vote. It's your turn to say what you think. Yes, we have about 65% of the vote. We wait a bit more, 15 more seconds, and then we will get to 80%. Okay, so 85%, and so let me just summarize. Sensor set and infrastructure cost 13%, acceptance 16%, human factor issues 9%, legal and liability issues, the winner 45%, and then 17% for business model. You got?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think well expected this type of results. I would, however, vote a little bit different, but I leave that for later on, for our discussion. Maxime, Davide, please help me also with the time, because I think there are so many things to discuss here, so we don't need to go out of the time framework. So, having discussed a little bit more general about automation, let's see a little bit how the whole thing started and what interactIVe, first of all, was doing, more or less, what are the lessons learned out of interactIVe, and then moving on to adaptive and the future. So the idea behind interactIVe was based very fast on the fact that until that time, and even today I would say, we had inside vehicles only independent functions for dedicated tasks. In most of the cases, we are indicated dedicated, let's say, sensors and hardware and software. At the same time, what we discussed before also, multiple expensive sensors were needed in order to add more functions to a vehicle. So interactIVe came in order exactly to discuss these issues, in order to assess the really hard real-time requirements that you have when you speak about sensors fusion, when you speak about active intervention, about safety systems. interactIVe worked a lot on a unified perception framework that could serve multiple safety applications based for the first time on plug-in concepts. So the idea was how we could really bring inside the vehicle different sensors and having different applications used for multiple purposes based on the same backend, on the same perception framework, if you like. At the same time, it looked at a number of different applications in continuous driver support, collision avoidance, collision mitigation, and a lot on intervention and warning strategies. As I mentioned, it was a flagship project. It was a very big one, and a lot of functions, as you see, in the areas I mentioned. So really, that was a very important and very good opportunity to discuss all the issues related about related around active safety. So interactIVe already touched automation also from that time, especially in the area of intervention and warning strategies. It discussed a little bit the automation scale, the sequence of interaction that will allow the integration of a high number of active safety systems. It worked a lot on testing the system and user shared control concept in all type of environments. Emphasis was given on haptic feedback inside the vehicle, and also it started working on legal aspects and created the framework for what came next, what I will present to you later when we discuss about adaptive. Lessons learned from this project, a lot of things. I just mentioned a few important ones. One of the very interesting things that we saw out of the human factor tests is that often drivers start a reflexive reaction to counteract in any type of intervention that they were receiving from the system, and this was done in most of the cases. So we saw the need for further investigations on active interventions, especially when steering and braking are combined, and there we saw the need for larger set of subjects and situations. We saw also the need for drivers to be able to overrule the functions. In the cases that was not allowed, drivers were frustrated, and we had some issues there. And we also saw that you cannot have a general rule. The strategy is related to the function and to the specifics of every application. Very important issue that was identified there was the need for a smooth transition between the different levels of human and system control. Other issues, more technical ones, were related with the need for a real-time performance. What we have seen there is that for sure, if you really want to be serious about automation and about active safety, you need a real-time operational system. So systems, Windows-like systems are not enough in order to cover these needs, especially if you need about multiple sensors and multiple applications. Very important, we saw the need for common ground truth data if we will be able to evaluate all these systems. And by ground truth data, I mean data with specialized attributes inside them, especially things like road edge annotations. Even today, we have a limitation there, we have some gaps there. We saw the need for optimal control models, especially for longitudinal and lateral functions. And to do that, we saw the importance and the interest for cognitive science-based driver models. And we saw also the need for high reliability, which is obvious, but at least in interactive, we proved why it is so much needed. And this is related not only with the algorithms, not only with the software and hardware, but even with things like the estimation of the vehicle position. Having said that, one very interesting question for me that I would like to have your subjective view actually, and not your expert view, is which type of the following support you as a person would accept inside your vehicle. And again, please give your subjective view on that. Is it information only? Is it partial automation but only when you decide to ask for it? Is it in intervention when the system decides that is needed, which means that for some reason the system decides that you are not in a position to address the specific situation? Is it highly automated support with driver out of the loop, or even full automation with no driver at all?
Well, Angelos, it seems that you are giving a hard time to the participants because they take some time to answer.
Yeah.
I can see that it changes. Okay, well, I think we can
one of the most interesting questions, Maxime.
Yes, it was so, and that's interesting. So we have 2 persons saying information and wording only. So, and there was a question of 2% of what, but so we have about 100 people, or a bit less than 100 people voting. So 24% said partial automation when you decide. 27 intervention when the system decides is needed. 20% highly automated support with driver out of the loop, and then 27% asking for full automation with no driver at all.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think what is also good for what we are doing, all of us, what is to live, is that only 2% believe that only information and warning is needed. This means that people are ready to accept a level of automation, different levels of automation. And the other interesting result for me is that opinions are really split between all the other modes. And I think this is something that we need to take into account in the developments in the near future. Okay.
Indeed.
Let's move on. If I manage to change slide, of course. That's okay, perfect. So let's move now to adaptive and see what is different there, what is new, and what we try to do. So adaptive was, in a few words, in a nutshell, was trying to put the driver and the system together in order to be able to control in the best possible way the vehicle. And to do that, adaptive was looking on all aspects that we discussed before. So perception in complex scenarios, communication, both vehicle to vehicle but also vehicle to infrastructure, collaborative control of the vehicle, the resilient behavior I mentioned before, the driver monitoring issues I also mentioned briefly before, and all of them on complex scenarios, and also at the same time assessing the different needs in terms of evaluation, but also very important, the different problems related with legal and regulatory issues. The important thing here is that the basic concept of adaptive is that the level of automation can be set dynamically. So change of different levels according to the situation, according to the scenario, according to the needs. Coming back to the definitions I gave at the beginning, if you remember, with the different levels, this nice slide here shows you exactly where adaptive is focusing. And this is again another proof of the approach that the industry is taking, so building mainly on ADAS, on cooperative systems, and introducing new elements of automation step by step, while leaving level 5, which is the full automation, for the future. And again, this slide, it's also very interesting because it shows exactly where the problem with the legal issues and deployment lies. So you see this nice red line there. So everything which is on the left side of the red line, it is in reality with driver in the loop. So typically, no problems, no issues related with the legal framework that we have today, or even if you like, no significant change with respect to existing ADAS. While moving on the right side, and as far as we go from the red dot line, then trouble begins. There, the driver goes out of the loop, more or less, for bigger or less time intervals, and there we have real issues with the regulatory framework, the laws, the conventions, and everything, and also an extra risk, which is increasing as we go towards level 4, with respect to product liability. So there we have really a need for action also on the things we mentioned before. In terms of application domain, adaptive is working in all areas, as I mentioned before. So the idea is to address all type of mixed traffic scenarios in all areas of speed, from low up to high, and also in all scenarios and levels of infrastructure, and to cover again all scenarios. So this means low speed scenarios with mainly parking assistant and construction assistant and functions of that level, going to urban assistant, so also automation functions for urban, and of course for highway. One very important element is the last point in this slide. The idea behind adaptive is to work on functions and applications, on developments which are deployable in a short to medium time. And let's move now to our sixth poll. Here again, the idea was to have two answers. The reason is that this is a kind of tricky poll. It has inside two different elements actually. One, the first three bullets is around highway scenarios and inside city scenarios and parking areas, but the second one is more on the type of transportation. So is it more about passengers or more about freight? The second part was really intended to understand what is, in your opinion, the field that we will see automation faster. Is it more on the passenger vehicles or on freight transportation? I don't know how we can handle that, Maxime.
It's going to be difficult, and we have to trust our attendees. So basically, we are asking you to pick only two of these, and one on the upper part, and then one on the two last ones. So yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So we again, as soon as you put a level of complexity, a higher complex level of complexity, it gets a bit more difficult in terms of the fault. So we have, I think everyone understood. So the one cross for the three first bullet points and one cross for the two last bullet points. Please, okay, we are at 77%, 79% voted. Okay, I think we can close the poll in 5 seconds. Okay. So we'll share the results. So it says basically 71% for highway scenarios, 33% for city scenarios, and 18% for parking. And then in terms of the two last ones, we have about the same, 46% for passenger vehicles and 50% for freight transport.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Also very interesting. I think, again, we see the same picture here, although people believe, or at least the industry believe, that parking will be the first place to see really highly automated systems or fully automated system, and of course with highway scenarios following. This is not the opinion of our good friends that follow this discussion, so for me it's quite interesting to see that most of you believe that highway scenarios will be the first ones where we're going to see really highly automated functions. And also for me very interesting to see that this balance reaction about passenger vehicles and freight transport. My opinion, if you want to hear it, is that freight transportation will see highly automated functions faster than passenger vehicles. The reason for me is simple. It is a professional industry. It has a very clear business model and very clear reasons why they need to introduce automation, and I think this will be reasons for them to apply that faster, at least than the passenger vehicles. But this is just a subjective view, my personal opinion. So let's continue then.
In terms of timing, we still have about 10 minutes and want to give the floor for questions. So in the meanwhile, can I ask the attendees to write questions in the question pane so that we can prepare a set of questions for Angelos? Thank you.
All right, so let's move a little bit faster. I think I can go out of this part. Also, poll 7, I think we can leave it behind. A little bit to discuss about legal issues here. And the work done in Adaptive has a very specific working group and a strong one working on all areas related with legal issues. And there we are looking on both international conventions, national regulatory work, homologation issues. We are assessing national laws from many different target markets, both in Europe and overseas, and we are looking on issues related with harmonization and of classification of the different automated functions. Actually, there's a very interesting public deliverable that will be soon available on this area, and we will be happy to share with anyone that is interested on that. Liability, data privacy, and data security, also very important issues that are being handled in this working group within Adaptive. So conclusions, I think it's more or less the things I mentioned, so I will leave that because I need a couple of minutes to introduce to you something which is new, let's say, or it's a new way to see things, and I think this could be also very interesting to discuss together. So I described fast, but at least I hope in a comprehensive way, the approach related with building on ADAS and building on connectivity, how we can introduce new automated functions in our vehicles for the near future. But the question here is, what about automation overall? Is it enough? Is it enough to discuss only about building automated vehicles with different levels of automation, or we need something more? So what I would claim here is that no matter how intelligent or automated, if you like, in our occasion, a vehicle would be, it might still cause other type of problems because it may operate an environment which is not suitable for this type of vehicle. So what I'm saying, in other words, is that we need to see automation in all elements of transport in a holistic way, including also issues related to infrastructure and to the operational system itself. So we are thinking really of changing the whole automated, the whole transport system here. So we need a holistic approach for automation. We need to include all elements of the transport system if we really want to have an efficient introduction of automation in the near future or in the midterm, if you like. And in our opinion, automation cannot be viewed isolated for the different components of the transport system. In general, smart systems, if you look on smart systems, if you look on automation in general, robotics, whatever you like, in every of these fields, you can see that no system can work isolated from the overall framework in which it is asked to operate. No matter how intelligent a system, it might still cause other type of problems in a non-intelligent environment. So building on these issues and these concepts, we proposed a few years ago a new way to approach automation, and to do that in a holistic way, to discuss about automated transport systems. And in fact, we tried also to give a definition for this automated transport system. So we saw it as an innovative holistic mobility concept where all the elements of the traffic scenario, and I mean all the elements, the vehicles, the travelers, public transport, infrastructure, operations, control, all the elements, are capable of self-organizing and operating at an automated manner, addressing in real time the needs of all and each participant of every specific traffic scenario. And doing so, and at the same time, applying different levels of automation in a dynamic way and supporting all transport modes for both passenger and freight. So this is something I would like to put on the table for you to think about and hopefully to discuss in other opportunities or even today if we have time. The highlights behind that, what are the main components, is that we're speaking about automated driving in all kinds of environments. We are speaking about a decentralized, hierarchical and modular architecture. We are speaking about integrated real-time communication and control among all system components, not just between vehicles or vehicles and infrastructure. We are speaking very important about dynamic optimal routing, and we are speaking about operation and management of regional or global traffic system, taking into consideration all the data coming from all their sources that are fed into the system automatically. And of course, there are many challenges behind that. A complex, large-scale automated system like this one has a lot of technical challenges. There is a lot of complex and multiple interactors, many involved actors. There are deployment issues and business models and investment-related issues. We have varying penetration of automated and connected vehicles and of infrastructure, of course, and as always, the classical liability and legal issues. And I want to close that, Maxime, with the last poll, if we have one more minute, just to consider about such an environment, such a traffic system of the future. what could be, in your opinion, the major obstacles to see something like that implemented in the future?
Good. There are actually a couple of questions on your last slide, so let's finish that poll. Let's not influence our attendees. We have 63% of the voted, and yeah, we are expecting at least 80%. So yes, we can close that poll and then share the results. What do you? Sorry. So for the first question was again 11% technological constraint, infrastructure limitation 20%, operational and business aspects 20%, legal and liability issues 37%, and acceptance by stakeholders 11%.
Okay.
Got that? Yeah.
Very good and very interesting. Thank you for that. So I think we should open the floor for discussion, Maxime, some questions you mentioned.
Yeah, there are a few questions, or actually more and more questions that are flowing from the partners, from the participants, and I would like to start with one that was that I'm not sure how much you have covered here. How do you think highly automated systems will be certified or type-approved? Do you think it will be possible to define the test scenarios for certification, or will it be a self-certification of the vehicle manufacturers? What's your gut feeling?
Well, I like that you start always with the difficult stuff. So yes. I think this is maybe the most difficult question we can discuss today. In my opinion, at the end of the day, we will need a type of certification system. And this is not only for the vehicles, but it's also for the infrastructure and for the other elements. And for example, very fast, I will tell you, I mean, we're speaking today about the levels of automation for vehicles. That's fine. We have already a good agreement for that. What about infrastructure? Who has discussed about the levels of automation of infrastructure? When you speak about airports, you have a very good classification, and you know when a plane can land with instrumentation, or it can land only with manual control. What happens with infrastructure? Who is going to certify that? Who is going to say that the infrastructure is capable of dealing with fully automated vehicles or with highly automated vehicles? So there are a lot of things also in this respect. But not to avoid your direct question, I think that it will be a huge work really to define test scenarios and to create a centralized, not centralized, and accepted by all stakeholders certification scheme. But I think if we don't have that, deployment will be much slower.
Okay, then thank you. We need to keep the answers short because we have many questions coming in, and so could you comment on the possibility or threats of criminals overtaking the control of automated vehicles?
Yeah.
Short one.
Yeah. I think it's a serious and existing problem. That would be my first answer. I think we need to do a lot of work, both on the criminal aspect, but also on the privacy of data aspect.
Good. So still things to put on the work program there.
Yeah.
Can you shortly explain the difference between level 3 and level 4, the fundamental difference, because some participants did not understand exactly.
Okay. Do you still see my slides? So
yes.
We can go to the slide and see directly there. Okay. So level 3 and level 4.
Yes.
All right. So the main difference here is the reaction of the driver. In level 3, we expect that the driver is in a position at all times to take back the control, either because he or she wants to do so, or because the system asks him or her to do so. That's the main difference. In level 4, the system should be able to work even if the driver is not able at all to take control for any type of reason. That's the main difference between the two.
So following question, is the Californian DMV level 3 or level 4 kind of applications?
Mm-hmm. From my knowledge, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think it's more on level 3.
Okay, but it says the DMV says that it has to come to a safe state if there is no response.
Yeah, it says so, but I think that the main part of it's more related to level 3.
Okay. Another question is on the self-organization of the transport, and it says, can a transport mode be self-organized, meaning in the cybernetic way, if it is not fully automated, entirely fully automated?
Yeah, that's a good point. In my opinion, yes, it can. And this is more based on the existence of smart control strategies, smart algorithms that will be able to understand real time, that's an important part, the interests, the needs, and the intentions of the different, let's say, components or stakeholders of the specific scenario. So I do believe that this is possible. And there are some research taking place right now on these aspects. It's not easy, it's not straightforward, but I think it's possible, yes.
Okay. Another question about event data recorder. Are they needed or not?
Well, I think this is something different. Do you mean data recorders from to inside vehicles?
Yes, EDR, event data recorders.
Okay, that's a different story. I mean, for automation itself as such, it's not a requirement or not a hard requirement. For situations related to liability or to legal issues or for investigations if something goes wrong, that's a different story. But there probably you know that there's a lot of reactions and a lot of different opinions if this is acceptable or not. Of course, obviously, the existence of such systems will help a lot, especially in identifying liability issues and problems related with insurance.
Okay, another question. Can you comment on the safety of the drivers and the passengers when they are completely disconnected? That means sleeping or turn away from the traffic. How to deal with that?
Yeah, I think this is exactly the purpose of level 4, which is the highly automated driving. There you can deal with that with two different, let's say, groups of things. One school speaks about minimum risk maneuvers. This means that when the system understands that the driver for any reason is out of the loop, then it takes all the actions that are needed in order to bring the vehicle into a safe stop. And the second school speaks about more things related to full automation. So it speaks about taking fully the control and continue the driving task even if the driver is not on board. If a vehicle is supposed to be equipped for highly automation or even for full automation, then typically, by definition, this type of problem should be dealt in a safe way.
Okay, I see. Another more organizational question on driving licenses. So will we eventually have different driving licenses like we have for manual drives or automatic gear shifts?
Yeah, that's a very nice point. Actually, my opinion is that our whole driving system sucks. Sorry for this type of wording, but I don't think that the way we are training today our drivers is suitable even for today's state-of-the-art vehicles. For sure we need to do a lot on the level of drivers training. For sure we need to do a lot about introducing to them all these new systems, the new gadgets, even if you speak about ADAS only. Not automation. So yes, we need to do a lot there, and not only that, we need to do to find a way to retrain people after a few years. Technology is moving very fast. We have new systems coming into the market continuously. I don't think that today's drivers are in a position to understand the capabilities and the limitations of these systems.
Good. There are a few other questions, but I have difficulty to put them into the into real perspective. There was a few. Can you comment on misuse in general? What could be the possibilities for misuse of these kind of systems?
Yeah.
Don't know if anything comes to your mind.
Yeah, the discussion about misuse actually started with the cooperative systems. There was the first time we discussed about the problem or the situation where we could have misuse systems, and it is continuing also with the automation, but mainly through the use of communication means. Misuse mainly means that many things, that one could take the identity of someone else, that one could use the identity, let's say, of an emergency vehicle in order to take rides or things like that. I don't think that automation itself as such will increase the level of misuse. I think that misuse is more important on the level of cooperative systems, so if we manage to solve issues there, I think automation will not add a lot of new elements on that.
I have too many questions coming in, but one that I pick here, and we are going to soon conclude. How does the system actually know that the driver can respond appropriately to a request to intervene?
Mm-hmm.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, but there are different schools also there and different solutions. One of them is very simple. One of them is that simply the system asks something from the driver to take back control, continues these requests, and after a point, and based also on the situation or on the scenario and the importance or the difficulty of the moment or of the scenario, then takes control the last moment that it can intervene in a safe way. What I mean by that, the last moment that it can really stop the vehicle, for example, in a safe way. As you know, the reaction time between driver and automated systems is totally different. So I'm speaking about the calculation that the automated system is doing. There's another school that speaks about continuous driver monitoring using some advanced techniques that some of you know, and we have worked a lot in the past, and even today there's sort of discussion about them. So a continuous driver monitoring will allow the system to understand if the driver is conscious, if it has his or her attention to the scene around him or her, or to the rest of the driving tasks if we are speaking about partial automation or even highly automation.
Okay. Last question, it combines two comments, is about the smart way infrastructure. What smart highway infrastructure is needed to support the development of autonomous vehicles? Basically, what should the infrastructure do in order to ensure that these vehicles are operating safely?
Yeah. Again, here are many schools. I mean, one major school speaks about dedicated parts of infrastructure, fully automated vehicles or highly automated vehicles. Another school speaks about, again, special parts of the infrastructure that will allow drivers that are using highly automated functions to have some benefits, either in terms of tolls, either in terms of using lanes which are not fully occupied by other vehicles or things like that. A third school speaks about totally open infrastructure, and there imagine a future where you can have roads without lanes, or at least without physical lane markings, but roads where the lane markings are electronical, so digital infrastructure more or less, where one can see the lanes through his or her system inside the vehicle, and in this way you may have a totally dynamic infrastructure, totally adjusted to the specific scenario and the specific needs. So many different ways to discuss that. But one term that you will see more and more in the future is the term of digital infrastructure. And this is not just positioning or maps or things like that. It's much more than that.
Great. Thank you very much. We wanted, before we leave, to ask a couple of questions that we forgot and to make a statistically valid analysis on what is basically which region where are you from. Just a quick poll on which region are you from to know if you are from Europe, US, or Asia, Pacific, or even others. Please, a quick answer. And we have actually most of our of attendees. Okay, then we can close that one, and then the next poll is which sector are you representing? Automotive manufacturer, supplier, public authority, any governmental issues, ICCS, etc. Research organizations, service providers, etc. And that will be the end of that poll. You are 70% yes. So we have that statistics. We can share the last one just to see 24% coming from the automotive industry, and then 10% from the public authorities, half of us from the research organization, and another 18% from others. Okay. Thanks a lot. Angelos, it was very interesting, and I think seeing the number of questions, I guess we could have continued for at least 20 minutes. But thank you very much, Angelos. And all the slides are going to be shared. The video is going to be shared on the VRA website. So, and don't hesitate to ask more questions to Angelos and or to us at VRA office. Thank you.